Hello again. I'm Braddock Supervisor John Cook. Welcome back to Braddock Neighborhood News, the program I am using to provide you with information on issues facing our community and ideas on how we can strengthen our neighborhoods. If you are homeless, winter can be an especially dangerous time of year because of the extreme cold. We have organizations here in Fairfax that care deeply about this issue, and the hypothermia program managed by Facets is successfully keeping these homeless families safe during the frigid winter nights. Joining me are Barbara Schulteis, Program Director for Single Adult Programs from Facets, and Cindy Jones, Volunteer Coordinator for Annandale United Methodist Church. Barbara, Cindy, thanks for joining me on the show. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about the homeless and the homeless population, because there's a lot of, I think, misunderstanding or lack of understanding of who the homeless are. And maybe, Barbara, you can shed some light on that for us.
Sure. We have about 1,200 people on any given night homeless in Fairfax County. And we serve people in our hypothermia prevention program and numerous other programs that Facets has that go through and help try to figure out why somebody is homeless and who they are. And some of those things that we end up finding out are they have jobs, they are people who have children, they have different mental health issues, but they are all being treated, they have medical issues. There are just a ton of different challenges that they have, and they just need help getting in the right direction.
And it's fair to say that there's not one composite, right? So there are different people who are homeless, and some may have mental health issues, some may not. Some may have substance abuse issues, some may not. Many are working, many are underemployed or have recently become unemployed. Some have a combination of all those different issues, and they can be very different people.
That's absolutely true. That's the one myth that I always get is, what are the homeless? What do they look like? Are they the people standing on the street? And they're your neighbor. They're the people that are at your coffee shop serving coffee. And they are the people who serve us in Fairfax County in our community.
And the hypothermia program, it's a program we work together on, Facets, Fairfax County, volunteers, churches. Talk about what hypothermia is.
So hypothermia, people think that it only happens at a certain temperature, and that's actually not true. It's when your body cannot produce the amount of heat that you need. So hypothermia can actually happen at 45 degrees, 47 degrees, and it's when your body just simply doesn't produce that amount of heat needed, and it becomes a medical emergency.
And so that's why in the winter we have the hypothermia program, which is providing temporary shelter for people who are homeless. And Cindy, many of our churches, yours and mine and others, participate in this program managed by Facets, county support, but really volunteer-led to provide that shelter for people so that they don't have hypothermia.
That's true, John. We've been involved since the very beginning. I believe the first year was like 2003, which was precipitated by the year before a man was found with hypothermia who had died behind a gas station in Annandale. And so the county and Facets came out to the churches and, gathered us together to try to see what we could do. And that's when it began. And Annandale has been involved ever since then, providing shelter during the winter months.
Right. And just sort of to give people who are watching an idea of how the program works, each church normally takes a week, I think some take 2 weeks, where they open the church's doors for folks who are homeless to come in. Facets manages, as I understand it, those who are coming, and the church, through volunteers, provides a safe place to sleep, meals, security, and Facets coordinates all of that.
That's true. So Facets has a facilitator that's a staff member that's trained and arrives at 5 p.m. when the doors open. And we work with the point of contacts at the church and all of the church volunteers to try to ensure a smooth evening, and everyone leaves at 7 a.m. the next morning. We do it with about 2,000 volunteers from November until March. It's the amazing support that we get from the community. We could always use additional assistance. There are ways to volunteer through facets and through our faith communities. It's a wonderful operation, and we have so many neighbors that are in need.
And we probably ought to tell people about Facets. It's a nonprofit organization, and tell us what you do and how people can be involved.
Sure. Facets is a nonprofit organization. We're located in Fairfax. We help people that are impacted by poverty. So we have various programs for families and individuals. We help people with life skill courses. We have housing assistance, different employment assistance, helping them find jobs or finding better jobs to increase that income, to help them find more suitable housing. Maybe somebody is just not making ends meet where they are, and we can help them find additional housing.
And so that's why hypothermia, the program, is obviously a great program, fits into what Facets is doing. And Cindy, why don't we talk a little bit about your church's mission? Many of the faith communities that are involved with hypothermia do it as a mission program, and talk about that philosophy of why 2,000 church members and faith community members in this county are so involved.
We are a mission church. Annandale is a mission church. We do many, many different things, and one of the things is the Facets hypothermia, and we also have provided housing for somebody that was identified through 100,000 homes that was done a few years back. And it's just really important when you realize how blessed and how well we are that we reach out to those that are not as fortunate as ourselves. And Annandale, and I think the other faith communities as well, are very good at reaching people and trying to treat them as guests, not as the homeless or something, because it's really important to see them as people and individuals, and not a population or him kind of a thing. And it's very rewarding.
I think that's an important point, that what our volunteers are doing for the hypothermia program is opening the doors, having people come in, providing shelter, providing security for the night, not trying to be judgmental, not trying to provide treatment. Those are for others to do at others' time, maybe during the day. Right. Facets might take folks to a shelter during the day or some program, but for the faith communities, it's simply reaching out and helping a neighbor.
Absolutely.
And that's important. And then that allows those folks during the day. Facets either may provide programs or help, or transport people to shelters or other places where they can get some of those other things that they do need.
Right, and Facets also provides case management. So one of the things this year that we are doing a little bit different is we have case managers that are assigned to come out from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. to assist people in finding housing. So we work with individuals at the hypothermia shelters at night, and then during the day, we're helping them call landlords. We're meeting them where they are in the community. We meet people at the Starbucks or over at the grocery store, wherever is closest for them to get to. And we go and we talk to landlords, we talk to employers, and we get people housed as quickly as we can.
It's interesting. You talk about sort of where people are in the spectrum of their lives, and the help you can provide during the day. I'm a hypothermia volunteer, and last night did my volunteering. There were at least 3 people with laptops, half a dozen with smartphones. Most of the people, and we had about 40 some odd people at our church, most came from work. A very varied population, and not the typical person you might see. And Cindy, I'm sure you found the same thing at Annandale.
Absolutely, yes.
But I've also been involved in years where many of the guests did have significant either substance abuse issues, and sometimes we'll be very open talking about that, and others that with significant mental health issues as well, and that's part of what the counselors are trying to, I think, do is direct people to services.
Right, and what we also do is we have support from the Fairfax Falls Church Community Services Board. We have people that come out to provide that mental health service to them at the site. So we, instead of making somebody go somewhere to get services, we try to bring all of the services to them. So we try to break down all of the barriers that they have in order to actually allow somebody to freely seek the services, where they don't have to walk into a government building to get the services nowadays.
And Cindy, why don't we, you touched on this, let's talk in a little more detail about the experience of the evening. Folks are arriving sometime after 5 o'clock at a church, and sort of what do you provide as far as the meal, the location, just sort of describe to us the scene and how people are spending their evening and how the volunteers are helping.
Okay. Well, the scene starts before the people ever come. You know, there's a lot to do to setting up to get things ready. And then they come about 5 o'clock, and we have snacks and drinks there for them. And they usually will sit down and watch TV, play games and things like that, or be on their phones or laptops until dinner is served, which is usually about 6:15. And between 6:15 and 7 o'clock they eat. And then at 7 o'clock they begin getting their linens and mats for the night. And a lot of them are really tired. I mean, it's amazing. There's some of them that just go to sleep right away. Others stay up and watch television or play games or do things. But there's, I think it's very tiring to be homeless. And during that time, our volunteers, they make plates for people who come in late to feed them dinner. We make popcorn, we play games with them, we make sure that the bathrooms are clean and go around the church for security to make sure that all the doors are locked and everybody's safe inside and that sort of thing. Overnight, it's more quiet usually. Most of the guests are asleep, and we start with making lunches and things for the next day, because as the guests leave, they are given the opportunity of having a bag lunch to take with them. In the morning, volunteers come in and we feed them a hot breakfast. So they really are pretty well taken care of during their week at hypothermia.
I think that's an important point. It's 3 meals, it's shelter overnight, security overnight, transportation by facets to and from the location, and then people catch buses and everything to work or other things that they're doing. Cindy, you mentioned either playing games with the guests or other things, and that's really an opportunity both for volunteers to be able to talk one-on-one with the guest, and also for those guests, I would think, to have an opportunity sometimes to talk to somebody who's not there as a counselor or
right.
treatment, but just another person. And that's a valuable part of the program, both for the volunteer and for the guest.
And we could always use more volunteers, John, really. We also try during the week to provide certain sort of semi-skilled care. This past time when we've had the shelter a few weeks ago, we had a professional hairdresser come in, and she cut some of the people's hair. We've had a massage therapist that came in and did seated massage at one time. We try to have people come in and play the piano or something. Try to engage them in something that's very mellow and engaging. What else have we? One of our volunteers came in and made simple clothing repairs. She brought in her sewing machine and her needle and thread and sewed buttons and zippers and rips and things like that. So we're always looking for new ways to provide services that kind of go a bit above and beyond, but meet the needs that you don't even really think about.
And I think part of it is not only just so that people literally don't die in the cold, but to try to give a bit of a boost so that people can get back on their feet. And And Barbara, a lot of what Facets is doing and working with the county on services is helping people get connected to jobs, housing, treatment. Some people will be back in the hypothermia program the next year. Most hopefully will not be. Talk a little bit about that kind of cycle. How long do you see people in homelessness and in your programs, and how successful can they be moving back into self-sufficiency?
So we have a philosophy that we use in Facets that is housing first. We really want to focus on people getting housing, and then we can go through and help them with the other services that they need. And that is a very successful philosophy that's worked. It's a nationwide campaign, and we've seen it work over and over again, where we do provide the basic life skill groups out at hypothermia 2 nights a week, but we also focus really on the housing. That's really what we want to see people get out of hypothermia, not just a warm place to stay. That's wonderful, and we definitely need that. But we try to bring a little bit more because we want people to not come back, and we don't want them to cycle through hypothermia. So we do see some guests that do cycle through, and they come back time and time again. They are engaged with Facets throughout the year. Some of it is mental illness, and that is why they feel that they can't get into housing and stay successfully. Some, they have a fear of not having that income first, and that's why they won't secure housing. But there are others who we help them with their security deposit and first month's rent, and they'll call us. They send us Christmas cards, they'll send us holiday greeting cards. We get tons and tons of holiday gifts from different folks who have been housed, and it's just so rewarding. And we say, that's so nice that they bring us a fruit basket or flowers for the office, and it's really, really touching. They ask us to provide thank you cards to the faith communities, and they are just really hospitable.
It's interesting. Housing First, which has really revolutionized across the country how we help people who are homeless, and in retrospect, it makes so much common sense, but it took a long time to get there. Because there's a lot of different people from different angles that think, okay, how do you get somebody back on their feet? But what we see now that we can look back at success is just that it's awful hard to make, for example, mental health treatment work if after your session with a counselor you're going out to the woods. It's so much. How do you hold the job when you don't have someplace to go at night? And really have found now through experience that get somebody in housing first, the treatment goes better, they can hold jobs better, they get on their feet better and hold on to those things. And wow, it's been revolutionary.
It has. And one little success story that I want to tell you about really quickly is somebody that we prevented from even coming into hypothermia. They called seeking hypothermia services because the program was going to be starting. And I said, we got to find you housing. We don't want you to come into the hypothermia program. You can come and have a delicious meal because all of the faith communities provide the most amazing meals ever, but we want you to go home and go to sleep. And the dad said, no, he has to get a job first. And I said, he has to have a place to sleep and to rest his head, because how is he going to be able to get a job if he's searching for a place to sleep tonight? And he's always searching for shelter. And we have an emergency shelter that operates throughout Fairfax County in different regions, but we want to get you shelter. And I tell you what, he got housing. Within 2 weeks, he called. I had 4 missed phone calls from him. I called him back. I said, what in the world is wrong? He said, I just want to tell you that I got a job. And it was with a very large corporation. And he calls me once a week to tell me how much he loves his new landlord and his job. And he's already saving and looking for an apartment now instead of a room to rent.
That's great. And that's really what we're trying to do, right, Cindy? When you and your folks at church are working the program, is hoping to launch people into that success story.
I really instill in all my volunteers to make sure that they give the guests dignity. I just think that so many times they're so marginalized that the best thing you can do is to do whatever you can to preserve their dignity.
And folks are very appreciative. They
Oh.
they say thank you 100 times during the evening. Very few problems really that have been reported. Now the program's over 10 years old. Very few problems with people. We don't have fights. We don't have any of the sort of the stereotypical behaviors that certainly there were some legitimate, I think, concerns in the beginning about how's this going to work? Are there going to be problems? And Barbara, that really hasn't happened.
No, it's fairly calm. You've went out recently, and it is a very calm shelter. People love being in the church. They love the volunteers. I think, like Cindy has said, it's very important to realize that some people have caught 6 buses to try to get to work that morning, and some of them work in DC, some of them work in Maryland, some of them work on the other side of Fairfax County. So by the time they catch all of those buses back to the shelter, eat dinner, they want to go to bed, and that's okay too. Some of them want to stay up and talk to the church volunteers. They really love. You've got a couple of participants that really wanted to just let you know how nice the program is, and they love the volunteers.
And I think also the volunteers are important, not only because you have to have people sort of running it, but there is that security, and I don't just mean physical security, but that sense of it being a safe place, which calms everybody down. And I know part of what we do as a volunteer is walk. It's true, you have to walk the perimeter. Every night you find some bottles that have to be poured out. There's no alcohol allowed in the program, and that's important because there are significant substance abuse issues. And but the experience of the program has been that people understand the rules, and with some friendly help from volunteers, will comply with that, and that makes it a successful experience, especially for a church.
I've spoken a lot about the dignity and what we try to do for the guests that we have, but I'd like to say how rewarding it is to the volunteers too. We have volunteers, some that do one-on-one with the people, and then there's some that provide money, they provide things. I have one lady who makes 2 dozen hard-boiled eggs every day. That's her contribution. She is not well enough to physically be with the guests, but that's her contribution, and she loves it, and I love her for it because hard-boiled eggs are really, they love them.
Absolutely.
I've never had an egg left over. And there's just so many different ways that they can participate. We have our children that we have one-on-one adults that serve dinner, and they are behind the table so that there's never any chance of any kind of accidents happening or anything. But the children learn a lot about people that don't have as much as they do, and it's very important for them to see both sides of the coin, because we live in a very affluent area, and a lot of them don't realize that even in their own schools there are children that are homeless and don't have enough to eat.
So we know we have 300 to 400 children on any given night who are homeless and then going to school. And you bring up a really important point. We say on this show a lot, because we talk about volunteering in so many aspects, that the real secret of volunteering is that the volunteer comes out of the experience maybe having been impacted even more than the people they're helping. And that act of volunteering is very self-fulfilling. And we want to encourage people to experience the fulfillment of being volunteers and to sign up, whether it's for hypothermia or some other volunteering in the community. So just very quick, because we're almost out of time, Barbara, how do you do that? Somebody's out there listening and they say, I want to be involved. If they're in a church that's a participant, that's easy. They go to Cindy and they sign up and they're good to go. How else can people help out?
So people can contact Facets directly. They can contact us at our phone number. It's 703-352-5090, or they can visit our website And there are tons of opportunities on there. If children are the people who you want to volunteer with, we have opportunities for people to mentor children. We have plenty of hypothermia volunteer opportunities if anybody wants to come and volunteer with us.
So many ways to help out. We're out of time, but I want to thank Barbara and Cindy for coming on the show to share their experiences and insight. Together, they are definitely making a difference in the lives of many individuals in need. If you'd like more information, please contact Facets at 703-352-5090 or the website facetscares.org. I hope you've enjoyed this segment of Braddock Neighborhood News. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or other needs, please contact my office at 703-425-9300 or email braddock@fairfaxcounty.gov. Tune in next month for another edition, and please remember to look for ways to volunteer. Your community needs you.